Global Multidão, realizing just transitions. Welcome to the German Climate Pavilion at COP30 in Billy.
Good morning, everybody, and also good afternoon to Germany when you are following us live in our live stream. It's beautiful to see you. Thank you so much for making time in all your busy calendars. Today, as you might all know, it's COP30 Pink Day. And it really outlines and underlines female leadership in climate action. And this is, of course, also a beautiful start into our day with our first side event when we talk about diversity along the value chain, building a sustainable workforce for the energy transition. And this genesis of the event really stems from the recognition that our global energy transition cannot succeed without people, right? We need people, we need a workforce that is diverse, that is inclusive, and that is, of course, skilled in order to plan, in order to build, and in order to operate all these systems, these energy systems that we need. So the renewable energy sector, it's rapidly expanding, as you all know. But when we look on the people's side, on the work side, it faces a growing labor and skills gap that is really threatening a slow progress. And when we look deeper into that workforce silo and into that topic, women and underrepresented groups remain significantly underrepresented across the whole energy value chain. And this is now already our topic. We are straight into our today's topic. How can we change that? And what is needed then from a national level, from a multinational level, but also from an institutional level and a private sector perspective? And with that, I welcome you once again, everyone here in the German Climate Pavilion for our topic. And for the official welcoming words, I welcome now the Director of Agency for Business and Economic Development, Susanne Friedrich.
Dear guests, partners and colleagues, a warm welcome to our event today to building a sustainable workforce for the energy sector, diversity along value chains. I'm so happy to be here with you and you at the camera. Here at the COP, we are reminded that the climate action and gender equality belong together. There is no just and sustainable transition without full participation and leadership of women. Women make up a large scale of the global supply chain workforce, from agriculture to manufacturing to services. But women are often remain invisible in sustainability plans. They are underrepresented in leadership, and they have limited access to better paid jobs. And in the renewable energy sector, women hold 1/3 of the full-time jobs, but only 1/5 of the senior leadership positions. And therefore, it is key to remind ourselves that there cannot be just transition without gender equality. And there cannot be no sustainable value chain if half of the world's talent is undervalued, underrepresented, or left behind. I would like to give you a brief introduction what we are doing at the Agency for Business and Economic Development. Our mission is to connect expertise, to set up partnerships, and to foster collaboration between the private sector and German development cooperation. We actively embed gender equality in the supply chains across sectors, and not just only as an aspiration, but it's a really very practical task with very practical instruments, because we are convinced, and evidence has shown, that gender equality is a driver of innovation, of resilience, and long-term economic success. And what we are doing applies to all sectors, but especially we are looking at the renewable energy sector as well, where the workforce is growing so quickly and where the supply chains are becoming more global and more complex. And while Katie already told us, there's a topic focus today at the COP30 here in Belém on system transformation across energy, industry, transport, finance, and trade. And we should keep in mind that we made already a collective commitment at the COP28 to triple renewable energy capacity, to double energy efficiency, and to transition away from fossil fuels in a just and equitable manner. So this should guide our decisions here at the COP30. And Germany is committed to climate neutrality, to energy transition, and to fair and global partnerships, and recognizes that the future of clean energy must also be the future of equal opportunity. And that is why we are so grateful for our strong and trustful partnership with UN Women. And we have been working together in the past, and we will continue to do so to integrate gender equality in the supply chain. A big thank you to all the team from UN Women. And I would also like to thank the German Renewable Energy Federation for its collaboration and for helping to bring public institutions and the private sector together to work together on the topic of gender equality in supply chains. We are going to announce today a new activity, the Global Supply Chain Coalition. This is an important next step in the cooperation with UN Women, and we are going to present it afterwards. The Global Supply Chain Coalition will focus on gender-specific risks and inequality along supply chains, and is by doing so strengthening the women empowerment principles of UN Women. So our goal is to foster equity, to make a contribution to achieving development goals, and encourage companies to have responsible corporate governance. And with this, I would like to close now. I'm very much looking forward to our panel discussion with our experts after this. I'm really grateful that you are joining us today to share your experience. Thank you for that. And I'm now inviting Anna Karolina to come up to the stage. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, bom dia para quem está aqui. Distinguished guests, partners, and friends. Hosting this, let me start by thanking the government of Germany for hosting this event at the German Pavilion, and also the excellent partnership with Susanne and her team at the German Agency for Business and Economic Development that brought us together here in Belém and COP30. A special thanks for our co-convener, the German Renewable Energy Federation. Today, with the launch of the Global Supply Chain Coalition, we take a decisive step to change the reality Susanne just described. Founded by UN Women with support for the government of Germany, the coalition unites business, industry associations, and governments to make global supply chains truly gender inclusive and sustainable. It builds on the success of the Women's Empowerment Principles, WEPs, the global framework that now guides over 12,000 companies worldwide on how to embed gender equality into their business strategies and operations. The Global Supply Chain Coalition will take WEP signatories on a deeper journey into transparency, accountability, and gender equality across value chains. When companies embed gender equality into supplier engagement and accountability, they spark transformation far beyond their own operations. The ripple effect from one committed web signatory to hundreds of suppliers shows how transparency and procurement power can accelerate progress across entire industries. Now, imagine what a coalition of companies could achieve together for gender equality. The evidence is clear. When women participate equally in supply chains, productive increase, innovation flourishes, and resilience grows. Risk decrease, reputations improve, and communities thrive. That's why this global coalition is not only a coalition for equality, it's a coalition for a smarter and more sustainable business. Coalition members will collaborate with supply chain partners to share learning, co-create tools and metrics, and build scalable models for inclusive and gender-responsive government procurement that promote decent work for all. Today's launch is both an important milestone and an invitation to companies join us in transforming global supply chains into engineers for gender equality and sustainability. To governments, align your policies and procurement with principles of gender equality and transparency. To investors, help us channel capital toward companies that are driving gender equality in climate solutions and innovation. Together, we can redefine what responsible business looks like in this decade of action. One that empowers women, protects the planet, and delivers shared prosperity for all. UN Women stands ready with our partners, with the government of Germany, and with all of you to make this vision a concrete reality.
Thank you very much, Anna. Wonderful. Join us in the panel, and may I ask my fellow panelists to also come on stage, and I'll do a proper introduction in just a minute when we have a briefing. So please, Eduarda, Karolina, and Susanne, join us here with a round of applause of the audience. Beautiful. Yes. No, that's fine. We have a sit down, a moment to breathe, and then, of course, I'll do the introduction. And we're going to dive deeper into our questions, how to make it possible to get more diversity along the value chain. So, as we've just heard, Anna Karolina Querino is with us. She's the interim representative of Brazil, country office of UN Women. And next to her, we have Rosana Santos. She is the executive director of E+ Energy Transition Institute. So thanks again, obrigada, for being here. Then we have Karolina Gutiez. She's the senior manager of communication, institutional relations and sustainability, joining us from the Schneider Electric for South America. Thank you, Karolina, for being here as well. And last, but absolutely not least, we have Eduarda Zoghbi with us. She's the founder of MPower Brazil, and she is promoting women's leadership in the energy sector. To all of you again, welcome. Thank you so much. And I'd like to start with Rosanna, to start with you when we talk about how to bring in more gender equality into the value chain, and maybe with a scientific perspective that you can share with us. What do you identify as the main barrier when it comes to achieving gender balance in the energy sector?
Yeah, it's a very tricky question because there is no one single barrier that explains what's going on, and that depends very much on which level you are. I am like from the old school, so I got to the market when this gender discussion wasn't even an issue. So I was just like, I'm here, I'm going. But what I see today, one barrier is that you do have brilliant women in the starting levels of the careers, brilliant girls that at some point stop believing that they can, and then when they get to the point where either they get pregnant or married or in a serious relationship, for some cultural reason they start really not believing that they can go beyond that point. So it's up to first, I think it's up to us that already got through that barrier somehow to help this women workforce. And women, I mean not only black and white, color women and white women. For color women is even worse, because we always say gender as if the gender would work the same for me and for you. It doesn't. For you, it's much harder. There are many more barriers to overcome. So in a nutshell, this barrier, I think it's a very cultural thing, and it's very difficult to change. And it's up to us to mentor this working force to go through this stage of believing that they can join the working force in a more leadership position and in a more decision-making position.
You mentioned that you have quite some years of experience in that field. So do you see now, from your beginning of your career to now, do you see any signs of progress? Can you elaborate a little bit more on the change? Or is that even also a hard thing to report on?
Yeah. First, for Brazilians, my perspective, and I'll be very quick here. When I got to the market and start working, this was in the year 1990. So we were just going out from a dictatorship of 20 years and something. So I think the society in the beginning of the 90s was more of a society that was going liberal, going freedom, going out speaking for themselves. So it was more like a freedom mind. After some years, this thing started to fade, and I think now we are facing a setback. We are facing a serious setback because, as again, my analysis is that we are discussing more, so the agenda started to be more of an importance, but we started to bother more people, and these people are reacting. And who are these people? There are two categories of workforce that is better than it was before. It's us, women, gender thing, and also for the poor people that got to the middle class or lower middle class. Those guys are okay. If you ask if you are better today than before, they will say, I'm better today. But if you ask for those who gave space to those, for us to be better today, they will react. And those guys that are reacting are the ones in power. So the reaction is really, really strong.
Thank you, Rosanna, because this shows again society is not just society. Society is also so diverse in its different pillars and also in that along the value chain. So the society needs to be ready, the people needs to be ready, but also the businesses needs to be ready. And that's why I'm looking to Karolina, because combining gender equality, green innovation, it has to be, and you're big ambassador for that at Schneider Electric. You've been advancing initiatives that that link these two topics, gender equality with green innovation and entrepreneurship. But not every company does it in such a strategically way, in such a strategic purpose. Why do you commit that, or why do you combine gender equality also in your strategy, in your business strategy?
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you for being here. I'm super happy to be on this so rich panel with my colleagues. Well, Schneider Electric, for those who may not know yet, it is an energy technology company. So we are in the energy field, on the energy management field, with a lot of technological solutions. And we realize that without the people, we are not able to thrive. We are not able to provide the energy transition that we are discussing here on this conference during these days. We already have the technology necessary, but we don't have the people trained, capable to use this technology. So it's a matter of the sustainability of the business, investing on the training of the people. And in this sense, Schneider has, in the past years, since 2009 until now, trained 1 million people around the world in electricity, in automation, in nowadays in renewable energies. But we dedicate part of our investments, part of our partnerships with technical educational institutions, focused on programs specifically to women, to young ladies around the world, because we know that in the technology sector, we don't have enough women working on this. Male still dominates this area, the STEM areas, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So we understand that we need to focus in specific programs to guarantee that we have women being trained in the STEM careers. And we have several really, really great examples how they engage on these initiatives, how they are capable, how they can upskilling themselves and are interested in being part of this energy transition movement.
Beautiful, thank you. Eduarda, the founder of MPower Brazil, of course, also when we talk about not just society, but also the strategic outline and the strategic elements why companies should invest into diversity, equity, and inclusion. What would you say, what are specific benefits coming also from a strategic business perspective?
Of course. First, good morning, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here today. Congratulations to the German government and to UN Women for launching this initiative. I think it's incredibly important and timely. First, let me maybe introduce myself by saying that I faced all of the barriers and things are changing for the better, however, not as fast as we need. So from being in high school and believing I was incapable of pursuing a STEM degree, even though I was good in physics, to graduating from college, applying to jobs and not getting invited to any interviews in the energy sector, to doing my master's in energy abroad, thinking, wow, now I'm finally qualified, I can get the positions that I want, and being offered almost 50% less than my male peers who had less work experience than I did. So it is really frustrating, and I know I'm seeing a lot of people nodding. I think we all go through this, and I think it's important to maybe start with the data. I think all of us that are involved in the energy and gender space, we know of IRENA's publication, A Gender Perspective. It was published in 2019, and they said that the renewable energy workforce had 32% occupation of women. They did this study again this year, 5 years later, and the number hasn't changed. And it scares me. And because here we're talking about global supply chains, if you look again at the numbers, 32% renewable energy. If you go to manufacturing, installation of solar panels, for example, assembling, all of that, all the manufacturing jobs that are related to supply chains, this number drops to 25%. And when we look at boards and representation at leadership, the number drops to 19%. So you see that it starts narrowing down. And this is a global perspective. So we don't even have the data for our own countries to know what the problem is. Well, We know that there's a glass ceiling. It's very difficult to break this glass ceiling, and this is why I founded MPower Brazil. It's a nonprofit. We started in the beginning of the year with me having many years of experience, over a decade already, working with gender mainstreaming, looking at the energy sector, at better practices, looking at projects, working for international organizations, and noticing that if we want to get women in leadership positions, we not only have to worry about participation and representation, we have to, number one, look at the data. So we launched last month a report that we conducted a survey not only to map the profile of women in Brazil, their racial profile, their gender identity, their educational background, but we also asked them, what are the main barriers for entry, for retention? What are the main skills that you want to learn? Because I think we will go nowhere if we are based only on assumptions and at global data. I think we really need to understand how can we work through local-led solutions. And what, oh.
No worries, no, go ahead.
And then the second thing that we realized, and one of the reasons that we did the survey, was to really capture what women need in Brazil. And through that, we actually have the call for applications open at the moment. 5 days it will close for Brazilian women starting their careers with up to 5 years of experience. We're doing a leadership program in which we're going to train them with the skills that they indicated in the survey that they need the most, which are public speaking, salary negotiation, learning about energy trends outside of Brazil, and we're going to bring them to an in-person gathering in Brasilia, the capital of Brazil, to take them to Congress to understand how policies are shaped, take them to the Ministry of Mines and Energy, to the energy regulator, so that they are exposed not just to the policy side, but the technical side, and also learn about leadership and learn amongst themselves. Because these networks, and this is also an interesting data point that came from our survey, in Brazil we have a lot of incredible women-led networks in the energy sector. And we asked all of them who is part of it. And we had that 50% are part of it and 50 aren't. And when we looked for the respondents that said, no, I'm not part of any energy networks, they're all young women between 18 and 35. So they don't know how to start. They don't have the networks, and they're very important. And the last piece is that we're working with strengthening connections. So not just through mentorship, but how do we bring women to more conferences? How do we get that very, first time that I'm going to a conference, I'm in the corner and I have to approach a group of men that already know each other, businessmen that are very intimidating. How can we support these women to be in panels as well and really give them a voice, especially considering a lens of intersectionality, and in that in our country we have a lot of disparities that are not just about generational, income or class related, but also racial. So how do we focus on that?
Thank you for that first start. Karolina, you want to jump in on one thing, and then I'm coming back to Anna.
I would like to complement what you just said, because I'm watching a lot of panels here on different areas, different pavilions, and still how many panels with only men participating of the discussion.
We have an all-female panel. Can we get a round of applause for that as well?
Too many, too many.
Beautiful. Thanks for pointing that out again. Anna, we just listened. I mean, the local level is crucial, what we understood. Of course, the business sector and the society changes. But also, of course, when it comes to the global supply chain coalition and bridging the gap of leadership. And not just a local leadership perspective, but also, of course, where the power lies on the global level. Can you give us another, you mentioned it earlier, how this coalition can shape and can shatter these coalitions, of course, of men to really bring in more female leadership into perspective. But again, the Global Supply Chain Coalition, how can it help to change this current dynamic?
Well, thank you for the question. Thank you all for your thoughts. Well, we know that, as Eduarda said, we have only 19 women in top leadership positions in this sector, in the energy renewable sector. But it's not only about representation. It's a missed opportunity. And we are losing we are losing the chance to innovate. We are losing the chance to promote a more inclusive business, and we are losing a chance to to take the opportunity of the just transition initiatives to change the world in the direction of a just society as well, because we're speaking about it. And we know that when we have women in top leadership positions, we improve governance, we improve innovations, we improve the competitiveness of business. And it's not only an issue of to promote, to hire more women, because several companies, they say, yeah, we are an equitable company. We have 50% of men and 50% of women. And it's not only about promoting women to top leadership positions, because we know that's hard. It's something that we face broken ladders, that we face different types of obstacles and challenges, even when we reach leadership positions, because it's not easy to be a woman in a leadership position in a sector dominated by men. But it's also how we influence, we use this power to influence others, to use this power to promote a more equitable value chain. If we have a company that works with several other companies, we have a chance to promote not only a more equal environment, enabling environment for women in our diversity inside our company, but also to influence others and promoting a multiplying effect. So this is why we created the Global Value Chain Coalition.
Thank you.
And we expect with this to change the whole business channel. So we need to have it. We need to use our power to change the world.
Thank you, Anna. I'd like to zoom in again to Karolina and to Schneider Electric, because you mentioned already that you invested a lot of resources, of course, when it comes to education, to training, to capacity building of women and girls inside the company and as well to the local communities. So what has changed then inside of your company, you know, the echoing of the atmosphere when it comes to people working with people together on the just energy transition? So can you share as an example?
Sure. But first, I would like to complement on something that Anna just said, which is thinking about the value chain. I believe it's the responsibility of the private sector, the big companies, to look to its value chain, because the small and medium companies, they don't have the tools, they don't have the resources to make part of this transition. So we need to give them the support. It's not just a matter of checking what they are doing, requesting them to do, because sometimes they don't know how to do.
But what do you mean by support? Is it guidance? Is it resources? Is it knowledge? What is it concrete?
Everything. The guidance, the resources, help them to follow up on these. And there are big companies that are looking to the chain and doing this. For example, in the case of Schneider, we established some KPIs for the main suppliers around the world on the ESG agenda. And at the very beginning, we realized that they didn't know how to do this. So we can't just request. We need to support on this process, right? But coming back to the question that you brought to me, in the last cycle of our goals looking for the ESG agenda, which was from 21 until now, 25, we are just achieving the end of this cycle, and we will soon announce the new goals for the next 5 years. One of them was guarantee, specifically for the gender matter, it was guaranteeing that we have 50% of women in all the hiring processes. So we have to guarantee that half of the people are joining the company are women, right? 40 of them in a managerial level and 30 on the leadership level, the very top level. So when we look nowadays to our executive committee, we have over 30% of women being part of this, right? And for the next cycle, probably we will approach another area, another axis of diversity, but we have to keep following up on the gender agenda, right? And specifically for the training programs, we have some great examples here in Brazil with technical schools focused only on girls and coming from vulnerable conditions, vulnerable scenarios, and the technical training maybe is the only way, it is the only chance that these girls have to succeed on their careers. And once they enter these programs and they realize there is a whole universe of perspectives, of opportunities through education, it changes completely the perspective of them.
What has, give us maybe one example. What was mind-blowing for you as a change at Schneider Electric with your numbers now? You know, is it a new atmosphere now? Is it a nicer, I don't know, you tell us at Schneider Electric. Specifically, what has changed with more women in leadership, with more women along the value chain?
There is the topic of representativeness, which is super important, is still super important. Having the role models, having women as role models to inspire others to be the same. I believe it impacts in everything. Innovation, as Anna said, for sure. We add value in so many discussions in the environment of work, in the mental health, for example. We are those who are looking for this. I believe we never faced before so many people struggling with the topic of mental health as today we are. And if there is someone looking to this agenda, we are doing this, right? But I don't want to restrict our value, the value that we add only for the topics like HR or communications or diversity, because we are into the business. We are making the change into the business.
I'd like to turn to Rosanna, because you were nodding when you heard, of course, the examples. But the big question is really how to get more businesses and private sector industries, how to get them for more diversity along the value chains. It's very hard to understand. I'm very sorry. So what is your take? What is to do from your perspective to get more industries, more private sector businesses into the journey on more diversity along the value chain? You know, how do we get more agents for change in the business industry and in the business sector?
I have two perspectives there. One, I was nodding because when I joined E+, it was me and another guy 3 years ago. And now we are 33 people at E+, 3 years after, 80% women. So we have 20% guys and 80% women, and very diverse in terms of gender and also LGBTQ. I never say how to say the whole thing, but anyone can do whatever they want. But my perception having such a diverse team is that first we work better together. So we have a very collaborative way of problem solving, less competition and more collaboration. This comes from diversity, not only because it's 80% women, because it's diverse. And also, when I see that from the technical side of E+, you have also 80% women, and women that were trying to go to the private sector. I'm an NGO, trying to go to the private sector and was being offered something weird for the level of their knowledge. So they found at E+ a place to develop and to have more a place to be vocal or to learn how to speak or to, I don't know, defend themselves. So I talk from my own experience that more diverse environment brings better solutions, period. This I know for sure. The second thing is we carried out for GIZ and the Ministry of Mines and Energy during the Brazilian G20 presidency a study on how is this the gender issue in the G20 countries. I will not go through all the results here, but one thing struck my attention, and I think it's a window of opportunity. For the global south, there is more STEM females going into STEM careers. And why is that? This is crazy. Because STEM pays better. And as STEM careers pays better, and in the global south, you have to give more money for your family, you don't have such a network or a wealth network as in the global north. So in the global south, more women stick to the STEM career because they have higher payment. Although the numbers are still low, but you see that more women that starts the STEM career, they stay in the STEM career because it pays. It has a higher payment. So I think this is a window of opportunity for us to take this and say, how can we accelerate that? How can we make a better use of the fact that, yes, it pays better, so how can we foster these STEM careers for the girls? And last but not least, what I notice, including in my team, is that sometimes women tend to think that they are worse than they are. I don't know why we have this kind of, I don't know. And
there's a word for it, imposter syndrome. So often.
Yes, I didn't want, imposter syndrome, this is. And this imposter syndrome is something real. I saw that happening in front of my eyes. Hey, come on, girl, you are really good. Go there and talk. And I think it's up to us that we, at least this barrier, I think we overcame somehow. It's up to us to help also those girls that are so good and they are being, I don't know, jeopardized by their own imposter syndrome. So, that's
Wonderful.
it.
Thank you for your perspectives, Rosanna. To wrap up the conversation, I'd like to come back to Eduarda, because I think you mentioned a very important thing. We often talk in these global discussions, on a macro level, on international cooperation. That's also part, of course, of COP. But what you brought to the table here, I personally think it's super interesting that there's so much power in the local perspective, in the local connection. So how, and this is a very tough question now for you at the end, you may excuse, but this is also an ice-breaking question for all of us. How can we bring these important conversations to the local level, that the local level is literally benefiting then from what we're debating here, from the importance of bringing diversity and gender balance into the local value chain? Do you have any recipe, magic recipe?
Magic. So first, let me going back a step, and then I'll answer your question. So before, when I was mentioning our report and some of our findings, when we asked women about the main barriers to enter the energy sector, they first responded that social norms, social and cultural norms, so they don't have enough female references in the energy sector, which ends up being a challenge. They don't see themselves there. Second is STEM education. And then the third is just visibility. Even when you make it, you have a really hard time just like being seen in your organization. And then when you ask about the local level, one more thing that we captured in this report that I think is very important in Brazil's context, but also shows, because we have a continental country that we're dealing with, that these inequalities, they also show up regionally. So what we have in Brazil today is that in the southeast region, Rio or São Paulo, you know this, and Brasilia, which is the center part of the country, but all of us here, we are located and very likely come from these areas. We have very different experiences than women who are in the north, which is where we are right now in Belém, and northeast. And the irony of it is that the north and northeast regions of Brazil are the ones generating most renewable energy in the country. Yet we don't know who the women are who are working in these spaces. So it's very tricky. And then I bring one thing I heard recently that shocked me, which is Apparently, there is a program in the Universidade Federal do Recôncavo Baiano, so a specific federal university in Brazil, that they have more women than men in the energy engineering program. And then I was like, wow, fantastic. We have to do a case study on this university. That's incredible. And then a friend of mine that graduated from this degree said, yeah, but none of them work in the energy sector because they can't find jobs. So it's not just about getting them the STEM education. It is also about how do we ensure that we can support these women. And for me, the magical recipe is we have to go there. We have to go to their places. We have to go to their territories. And why is that so important? Next year, what we're planning on doing, because I was explaining about leadership program that we're doing, bringing them to Brasilia to open these perspectives. What we're doing is we're partnering with federal universities so that we can bring women from there, from the region, and have a discussion, have a safe space, talk about opportunities. Sometimes it's not about money, sometimes it's the low-hanging fruit. To give you an example, most women who are graduating, who are close to starting their careers, they don't know where to work. They don't know the energy companies. In Brazil here, they think, oh, I'll work for Petrobras, the state oil company, because they see commercials, they see advertisement, but they don't know they can work with energy in a foundation, in a non-profit, even in the government. Like, this information doesn't reach them, so they don't even try. So I think in terms of the magic recipe, I think we need to think less of centralizing these solutions and opportunities and decentralize them. And this doesn't apply just to Brazil. I think this applies to many countries. Sometimes we talk about representation regionally, but we see the same faces. So how are we also bringing this to our companies, to our leadership style, so that more women are impacted? I think that's about
Thank you to this amazing panel. I learned so much, and I'm sure you also got new perspective. Thank you to Eduarda, Zoghbi, to Karolina, Gutiez, to Rosana Santos, and last but not least, thank you also to Anna, Karolina, Querino. This is your round of applause. And thank you. All right. We are leaving the stage as we are now getting into the official launch of the Global Supply Chain Coalition. Anna, you will stay on stage, but I kindly invite you to leave the stage. Thank you for all your perspectives and, of course, for your motivational doings. It keep on going, so to say. And I call Susanne Friedrich back on stage. Oh, here we are. Wonderful. I'm sorry, I'm confused. I leave you to it because you have the official launch now.
Yeah, so thank you. We have seen that there is so much knowledge and so much experience already here in the room. We have seen that going to the ground, reaching out to the local level is still a challenge, that big companies should take over responsibility to make sure that small companies can benefit from this knowledge as well. So I'm very happy that today we can do a next step in our cooperation, Diana, Karolina, with the UN Women, to set up the Global Supply Chain Coalition. We, as Agency for Business and Economic Cooperation, on behalf of the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, and this will be not only a strong coalition, hopefully a network, but also a space where all this knowledge can be brought together and can be further developed to have concrete instruments for the ground. And I would like to invite all the companies here in the room and across the world, and those that might be watching us now on the screen, to join this coalition, to come in with their expertise and jointly in a collective action go to the ground and make that the supply chains become more fair and gender inclusive. And I'm honored now, Anna Karolina, to launch officially the Global Supply Chain Coalition with you.
Thank you, Susanne. We are sure that this Global Supply Chain Coalition will change the game. It will enable us as a society, and you as business leaders, but we know that the governments and other actors have all have also responsibilities on it, but we know that adopting a whole of organization approach, that creating, we here collaborating in different organizations as we cannot do anything alone, and also with accountability, being accountable, we will make it happen. We know that through our procurement, the companies and industry procurement actions toward gender-responsive actors, this will make possible for diverse women in the other organizations that are part of the supply chain, but also in the communities to change. So I am very pleased, Susanne, to be here with you as part of the work of our teams and our colleagues at headquarters. So thank you, Anna, Wolf, and Milhouse, if you are listeners, to launch officially this global coalition. And again, we invite you all companies to adopt this approach and to take part of this global coalition. We together will change the game and promote a just transition for all.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. What a special side event here. And with that, I would say we mingle now a little bit more into the networking. Thank you for coming and for making space in your busy calendars. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, in our live stream for watching. I hope to see you soon again in our program. See you soon. Bye.
Global Multidão, realizing just transitions. Welcome to the German Climate Pavilion at COP30 in Billy.